Witchers, welcome back to the Witcher Lorecast. This is your host, Tom, or Robots, and I'm here as usual with my good buddy Toasty of Toasteria. A new one!
I don't think that's new.
Toasteria? I don't think I've ever said that before.
I feel like I've heard that one before.
No.
Yeah.
Chat, have I ever said that one before? I just pulled that one right out of my butt.
Because it's like...
nice and warm.
Temeria and...
Yeah. I don't think I said that before. That was brand new.
I feel like I've heard that before.
Okay.
Maybe you didn't say it before, but it's definitely been said.
Okay, well, I don't remember having seen it, so I'm going to take credit. But what are you doing, buddy? How's it going?
Okay. I'm good. I'm good. Glad the holidays are over as far as work goes.
Yeah. Was that one left in a review? Oh, maybe it was. Okay, but anyway. I don't remember that, but I'm an old man, so I can. So
you have said it before.
I don't know. I might have.
I
read the review. Okay, but anyway. Well, hey. So let's get into the show, though. We're happy to have you guys back. Welcome back to the show. We're past the holidays. We're into 2022. We just wrapped up our end of the month, end of December Patreon episode, where we got to talk about the season as a whole. And today's episode, this is our second part of talking about season 2, episode 1 of the Netflix Witcher series. And we're going to be going into specifically the detailed rundown of the episode, kind of like we did with the individual episodes of season 1. The first half of this was our impressions of the show, this episode, and we kind of broke down our impressions and didn't really go into detailed recap. This is going to be the recap part of that breakdown. So stay tuned for that. One of the things I wanted to address before we get into that, we did get some responses. Actually, two things. One, thank you to everybody who's tuning into the show. There's been such a large buzz because of season 2. Lots of brand new listeners. Our numbers are up over 200% because of that. So welcome to everybody who is tuning in. Thank you for being here. Hello. We're glad you guys are listening. And also, we've gotten a lot of response due to the last episode where we had our patrons on and we got to talk with them about general impressions of the season and those kinds of things. And I've heard some responses from that. And I tried to be very open to different interpretations and tried to spell out there that there's a broad expanse of different feelings on this. And I did hear back some responses from people, and I just wanted to clarify some things. First of all, I am in no means against any one interpretation. I think everybody is, if you have certain feelings about the season, I don't think anyone's wrong for having feelings. I think that your feelings are as legitimate as anybody else's. So just wanted to put that out there. I don't think anybody's wrong for having any feelings whatsoever. I have my feelings about this season. Toasty has his feelings. And as we get further into each of these episodes, you're going to see that we're definitely going to share those. And we may not even agree with each other. So if you're new to the show, hold on to that. And you may or may not agree with ours. And we would love to have really actual good dialogue with you and polite dialogue in order to share those feelings and kind of suss that out a little bit. Two, I think that there are many different people with lots of different perspectives, and all of those things are legitimate. So I just wanted to put that out there that I'm not saying that you have to fit into one camp or another. I'm just sharing that there are lots of different perspectives on these things, and no one perspective is necessarily right or wrong. It's just the ways that we all come to this content. So just wanted to...
Except for mine, of course. I am obviously correct.
Toasty's always correct, right?
So
right.
I'm the expert here. That means my opinion matters more.
Right. And this wasn't like...
the antagonist of this podcast.
Yeah. And Rob the Princess asked, was there drama that I didn't even catch? There isn't big drama that you didn't catch. It's just there's been conversation around this. And I want people to be clear that I'm not... I've just heard some things. I've had a few conversations, and I just want people to be clear that if I say something like some people think that the season should have been 100% accurate to the books, but I don't think that would have been possible, that doesn't mean that I don't think that would have been cool. Like, that would have been cool. I have reasons for believing that isn't possible. Right. Like it's very hard to be concise and state all of these things without other people also lumping in other opinions and connecting them to the things that you also think. it becomes kind of like a political conversation sometimes because people like to lump things into the things you say. So I just wanted to be clear about all that.
What Tom is saying is that if you have a problem with anything that he is voicing right now at this moment, you should hop on the Discord channel.
Yeah.
The Robots Radio Discord channel, hop in the Witcher Lorecast specific channel, and we can have respectful dialogue about our opinions with each other.
Absolutely. I would
emphasis 100%. On respectful.
Yeah, yes, absolutely. And that's fine. And I'm okay with you disagreeing with me. I think that's, in fact, I think it's great if you disagree with me. I would love to hear your opinions and why you think that maybe I'm wrong about something, because if you can convince me of something that I should change my mind about, then that's awesome. Like, I'm completely open to that. Like, I just want us to be in understanding here. And if you have an assumption about something I say, then I want to make sure that you ask and seek clarity in that, and that we're open to that. And I've had some good conversations. This isn't because I've had bad conversations. I just want to be clear about that, because anytime, and I've learned this from discussing hotbed topics on other podcasts that I've done, anytime you talk about anything that's hot and people have lots of feelings about, they make big assumptions and they assume that you're in like the other camp when you say something they disagree with. So I would just love to get into the minutia of a point before people draw big sweeping conclusions about things. So that's all I'm saying. Just wanted to put that out there to begin with, because this episode is not going to be a hotbed issue. This is probably the most agreed upon episode in the entire season, where most people are like, hey, this was pretty good. Like, it doesn't stray too much from the source material. Sure, Siri's there when she wasn't, but for the most part, it's pretty good. So we're not going to get there yet, but we will definitely be getting into some of this, area as we get into the other episodes as we move forward. So why don't we kick it off, Toasty? I'm sure that was a lot longer than most people needed to have, and maybe I'll edit down and post, but here we go.
Too bad. They've already clicked off the podcast.
They're already gone. We just lost all the new listeners. Sorry. Bye, everybody.
Bye. It was nice having you. No, all right, let's go ahead and jump into the recap. So, of course, first things first, we get the nice, beautiful, very scenic, brutal murder intro, as I like to call it. We just see a bunch of people just get killed bloodily and terribly by some invisible flying monster thing.
Right. Yep.
And this is like insane, like how intense of like murders these are, because they get like picked up and then 3 seconds later it's just like a sack of meat that just gets dropped down.
Foreshadowing, they're all scared, and then all of a sudden boom, 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 they're dead. And they're violently dead. So we get past that. Everyone's just dead, and we get this nice pan to the aftermath of the Battle of Sodden. We got Tissaia trying to find Yennefer by like sifting through dead people's memories, which is really cool. We get to see these cool like first person perspectives of people dying and killing other people. Yeah,
which is
pretty. And the torment that she must be feeling by having to do that also must be pretty intense.
But she really wants to find Yennefer.
Yeah.
She really wants to find Yennefer. So, so she's not finding anything. There's like thousands of bodies here. Like, she's not going to be able to find that specific person who knows exactly what happened to Yennefer, because there's so many people. And they're cleaning up. Meanwhile, the other mages are cleaning up the people that are still alive, Vilgefortz and some others. And then Tissaia kind of has this moment of like terrible, like, I guess, like suffering sadness, and screams out Yennefer. And who else shows up but Geralt, also screaming for Yennefer. And basically he gets told that Yennefer's dead, and he's heartbroken Geralt, like intensely sad Geralt, and it's kind of heartbreaking.
Right. Now this is one of the main themes throughout the season, is Geralt believing that she's gone. This immediately struck me as like one of those TV tropes, of like, oh, main character believes other main character is dead because they just showed up at the wrong place at the wrong time. Did you feel that way about this? Or did you feel like, nah, this is legit? Like
we saw that they were literally like right there as far as the Battle of Sodden went. Like they were next door essentially. Mm-hmm. So them showing up and, of course she's gone. So of course they're all going to believe that she's dead at this point. Like she just straight blasted out fire and then disappeared, and magic takes its cost on people. Like we learned that in season 1, where like chaos has a price that you have to pay, and she did some insane magic, so it makes sense for her.
It's consuming.
That makes sense.
Like that makes sense.
Like so, I guess I get it's a trope that's following, but I think it's a very believable trope as far as this goes. And of course, it's ironic because as an audience, we find out soon enough that she's not actually dead, and most of us probably would have assumed that she wasn't anyways, given probably prior knowledge of The Witcher. So
now from a book perspective, having read the books, how does this line up in any way?
It's hard to say exactly. They don't. Geralt visits the memorial of the Battle of Sodden Hill, and Yennefer's name is on that whole list that they do. Spoiler alert, in a later episode, they have a list of the people who died at Sodden Hill. They have that. He sees that, and her name is on the bottom of that list. He thinks that she's dead.
Okay. So there's a legitimate
details,
callback to that in a way. Okay.
Yeah. Right. So as far as the details go, we don't know much because we don't get to see Yennefer's perspective a whole lot in the books.
Right.
So basically in Ciri's like really asking who Yennefer is and wants to know more. And Geralt's at this point, he's done. Like she's dead. It doesn't matter anymore. You don't need to know about her. She's gone. So it's pretty upsetting little beginning there. Then we have Ciri and Geralt at like a campfire night. Ciri's having nightmares, probably about like the knight with the winged feathers. And they kind of have a talk. Geralt doesn't sleep well either. Talk about the law of surprise and how that worked, because she didn't really know that story. And kind of what they're going to do next. Ciri's throwing out ideas of like, I can go back to Cintra or I can go to Skellig, and Geralt's telling her like, yeah, these aren't good ideas because of, whatever reasons. Like she'll just be used as a political bargaining tool.
Right.
Essentially.
He's wise enough to know the lay of the land, like the lay of the political land, literally, and figuratively, both things. And to know that like she's not safe anywhere. And so he comes up with a plan to take her to the one place he knows is as safe as can be.
Yeah. And so we get past that, kind of a little talking, like we get to see these talks pretty frequently this season, just kind of getting some of that bonding going. Then we cut to Aretuza, all the aftermath of the battle, like all the injured people. They kind of have this whole infirmary set up with people. Triss has a close call. She's like seizing and is dying. And it takes Tissaia, Vilgefortz, and Artorias, Artorias being Frigilla's uncle, to stabilize her with magic in order to get her in better condition. And then they talk about like how they need answers. Like they don't know what's going, like the whole story yet. They need answers to find out, what they should do next. So Tissaia recommends that she interrogates the prisoner, and find out information that way, which there's a little bit of, conflict there as far as I guess Tissaia's methods aren't exactly approved by the Brotherhood.
Right.
But Vilgefortz is like, well, I'm kind of in charge here, and she wasn't asking your permission. I give her my permission.
Right.
So
right. It's like and he's of course a soldier, and this is more of like a wartime approval kind of
he's
thing.
like the commander essentially of the mages at Sodden for the most part.
Right.
So then we get we cut to Yennefer waking up. She looks really dirty and worn out, and she's bound, a prisoner. And we get this kind of weird lens effect of her coming to seeing Nilfgaardian soldiers and then Fringilla. And we find out that she has been captured and taken as a prisoner of war by Fringilla. So,
yeah.
Next, we get Ciri and Geralt on their way to wherever they're going at this point. They haven't said specifically until now. She's asking where they're going. He says Kaer Morhen, and he tells her about the pogrom or the massacre that happened in the past when he was a child, and how it left the Witchers down to a spare few. And then they talk about kind of her visions and how she saw things before they actually happened, and I guess kind of the implications of that.
This is the first time that we get a really solid connection to like you said, the Netflix cinematic universe. The fact that this is tying back to the Nightmare of the Wolf animated movie, and that version of the history of Kaer Morhen and the Witchers is in this universe is how the story plays out.
Right. And so they're as they're talking, they come across this like butchered deer, which Geralt finds suspicious. And he goes over to investigate, ends up eating a piece of it, which was, totally delicious looking, I think.
This is kind of a callback to the wounded deer in the first episode of season 1. When he fights the monster, a deer gets wounded and he has to eat it. Remember that?
I did not think about that.
You catch that? There's a wounded deer in both episodes, both season 1, both episode 1s of each season, and it's both times it's wounded by a monster.
And he eats it. Yeah,
but
fair enough.
But the results and the reasons for the wounding are different.
Yeah, I did not think about that. That's
kind of an interesting parallel.
Yeah. So they make it to the town we saw in the brutal murder intro, but they don't go inside the town, so they don't see really anything that's happened. It just looks abandoned, and they're like, okay, this is odd. There should be there should be people here. It should be lit up. So they decide not to go into the town and instead go to a friend who lives nearby, a friend of Geralt's. So we get to the spooky mansion, essentially.
Yes, right.
And they're kind of putting Roach in the stable, and he's telling her, stay back because kind of got that spooky vibe still going on. He wants to make sure everything's okay. Mm-hmm. The gate slams shut. We get like the window shutters and the doors start flapping of their own accord. It's very, very spooky. And then Geralt just gets tackled by this big furry monster with tusks.
Yeah, this beast man.
And it's like, oh dear, what's happening? Except he's just an old buddy. Right.
Yeah, and on second thought on this, he's lucky that Geralt didn't just slaughter him right there.
Yeah,
being that Geralt could have probably reacted and destroyed him, but he doesn't.
Yeah, so it turns out this is Nivellen, who's a lot different than he was the last time Geralt saw him, because he wasn't a big hairy boar monster before. Mm-hmm. So he invites them inside to warm themselves, offers Ciri a bath. We find out that he can just magically spawn things from the ceiling, essentially.
Yeah, things just appear and fall down.
Which is very entertaining. It kind of makes me think of like one of those kind of you get this, but there's a cost kind of thing. So you can make anything you want inside your house, but it has to fall from the ceiling. So it's not exactly the most convenient, but I guess you can make anything you want. So who wouldn't want to do that? So Ciri, settles down to go, basically have a bath. They go off to drink. And Nivellen assures him that, Ciri's safe. And we see that Geralt's starting to he's very concerned. He wants to protect her and wants to make sure she's safe here. So we have dinner, or I guess first Ciri has this weird feeling where there's someone kind of watching her where she's at. And we get to see that there's like someone or something up in the ceiling who's like peeking down at her. It's like, okay, what's going on here? It's very interesting. Then she goes to dinner. They eat. Nivellen tells us how Geralt and himself met, where Geralt got a contract to kill a wyvern in its den, and Nivellen wanted to help to try and not look like a loser to his dad, essentially.
Right.
And Geralt, basically, he nearly died. And Nivellen nearly got himself killed. Geralt has saved him and then killed the wyvern and pretended like Nivellen was the one who killed the wyvern, or at least one of them, because there was multiple. So
in typical Geralt White Knight fashion, comes to be the nice guy in the end and help him out.
As Nivellen says, he's a big softy.
yeah.
So
which gets a look from Ciri.
Yeah.
Like a really kind of look. Yeah.
Definitely. We see I think it's funny little interaction here with how kind of needling Ciri is to Geralt at this point. Like she's very much kind of good humored about it, but she's definitely kind of throwing jabs, little jabs at him, I guess, to kind of egg him on and see how he reacts. Which I think is kind of cute, honestly. And then Nivellen tells us about how he got cursed. He went to a temple, trashed a temple, and the priestess cursed him to be this monster and that he had to live alone. So, he can't live with anyone, and he looks like that. And he tells us, things like he tried to end it before, he's struggled with this a lot, even to the point of where he's contemplated suicide, but he can't die.
Right.
He just keeps coming back, which is very interesting. We move on to a different room, like a sitting room or something, rather than the dining room, and kind of talking about how he saw the Wild Hunt racing across the sky, which is interesting.
Yeah. We get a mention of the Wild Hunt in the first episode of the season,
which is very interesting. And then he tells, basically it's the sign of the end of days. Geralt's like, I've been through so many end of days. It's all bullshit anyways. You're not gonna get me to, start believing in that. I've been through too many.
Right.
And then we hear that kind of scratching sound again was going on. And Ciri's like, do you have a cat or something? It's stuck in the ceiling, I think. She's noticed there's something going on. And we get this very not believable story about how he has a cat named Verena.
Right. Yeah. That is my cat. Yeah.
And Geralt doesn't believe him. He's like, didn't you say you were supposed to be alone? You're supposed to live alone. That's a little weird. So Geralt's starting to question things. And then we cut back to Aretuza. We see that the prisoner is in fact Kair. They have taken Kair, which is, I would say, probably a pretty valuable prisoner of war if you had to pick one. And we get probably one of the most terrifying scenes in the season with just how brutal this interrogation is, because Tissaia is not really looking like she wants the answers, but she really just wants to cause him pain more than anything else.
She's very angry. Yes.
She's very angry. We hear they definitely with the sound effects on it. We hear cracking and popping.
Oh yeah.
And they put a whole lot into making it seem as painful and uncomfortable as possible, and it really works.
Mm-hmm.
And
the zoom into the face, the uncomfortable angle looking down on his head. Yeah.
And her monologue on top of it of like stripping away everything that he has. And if he's been blessed by evolution to have a single wrinkle in his brain, she will basically ingrain it deeper and deeper and show him what a scream can really be. And man,
all right.
Like, it's a terrifying scene. It's also probably one of my favorite scenes in the season because I think it really shows us how she really feels about Yennefer. Like, she's heartbroken at this point. Yeah. So it's very interesting.
Right.
So we get past that. We don't really find anything about it except to say is scarier than we may have thought before. And we move to back to Yennefer, who's basically complaining about her food, which you know, a whole lot of prisoners be complaining about food, I guess.
Well, we're starting to see that she's unraveling what's going on.
Yeah.
And how valuable she is. And she's starting to show that she knows. And I think this is what this is showing. She's starting to show how she knows how valuable she is and that she can't be returned in, you know, they're not going to kill her. They're not going to hurt her that much. And she knows it.
Yeah. I'm basically talking about kind of, I think it's a good moment to watch here with kind of that development between that relationship, because obviously they're enemies here, but they kind of are going back and forth on the issue of like who's going to be shunned more, like the mage who resorted to using fire magic to win this like massive battle, or the other mage who failed to push north like she was supposed to, like failed in her orders and is now fleeing back to her homeland with her tail tucked between her legs. But basically showing that they're both not in good position with the people that they kind of work under.
Right.
So
yeah. And she's basically figured out that she's like, okay, I'm the bargaining chip. So she can't do anything to me. She needs me. So
pretty much
I'm going to be as annoying as I possibly can because she needs me. Yeah. She's figured out that she has the leverage in the situation, even though she's a prisoner.
Yeah. So we move back to, you know, Casa Nivellen. And I didn't know what to call it.
Yeah, no, that's good. That's good.
And we get this little, he makes this like this weird, like lamp thing. It's like a lamp, but it has like designs on it that cause kind of this moving picture around the room.
Very cool. It's a very cool thing. It's you go back about 200, 300 years and these were actually toys of the aristocracy. Like they were things that people created and played with. And if you were wealthy, you could have somebody make one of these things and you would put a light in the middle and you'd spin it around and it had these frames, right, that would come around the outside and it would make the shadows that showed up on the wall animate just like a picture box. And this one's magical. So of course it tells a story as these things animate.
Definitely. Yeah. He can do all kinds of crazy stuff with his magic stuff. So we get a little bit of a story, which I don't think any names in particular mentioned, but if you're familiar at all with Witcher lore, you'll know that this is kind of a little bit of a exposition about Lara Dorn.
Yes. And this is foreshadowing for the rest of the season. And this is another point in this first episode, why this first episode was so important. And it's also foreshadowing. And this is another thing I appreciated. And, you know, watching through it kind of plugged into, I was like, there's a reason why the story is being told. There's like, this is going to come back and it's cool. This is a moment and to the writer's credit, this is a moment of good foreshadowing and it was done in a really cool way. And it was a good reason for including Ciri in this episode and making this work.
One thing I give like big props to is whenever writers manage to add in exposition without it like seeming just like exposition.
Right.
like adding in details about like things that tell you about the world, but they're not just having this chunk at the beginning of like a movie, of like long ago, the land of blah, blah, blah with blah, blah kind of.
Right.
So,
right. And then there's also the question of like, well, why would he share this with her right here? Because he's freaking lonely, because he hasn't had company in who knows how long. And he's a guy, and this attractive young woman is there, and he has this cute little toy, and he wants to tell her a story.
It's basically a bedtime story.
It's a
like
bedtime
he's just telling
story.
her, he's bonding.
Yeah, there's a reason. Yes, of course he's going to share this creepy old story with this beautiful young little girl. And yes, why not share a story? Like, this is the kind of thing humans do when they connect. So yeah, he's going to share a story. So it totally fits the scenario.
Yeah, and after this little story, this cool little exposition here. They have kind of a talk, and Nivellen talks about how he's tried to basically bribe himself love, because the curse can only be lifted through love and blood, or that was what was mentioned by the priestess, was something about love and blood, as he mentions earlier. And basically he tried to use treasure to get himself, have people fall in love with him, but that's not how love works. You can't just bribe love. Right. And so, of course, it didn't work. But he kind of says that he thinks he deserves his fate, which is a little bit of like an odd thing you would think, because this dude just seems like a really nice guy. Who probably got drunk and, trashed a temple in like a drunken binge.
Right.
He doesn't seem like he really deserves that, but for some reason he thinks that he does.
Yeah. There's more to the story is what he's saying. There's more that I haven't shared with you. And I'm guilty.
And Ciri tells him, she's seen like terrible things happen done by people. And so she doesn't think that he's a monster. And he says, he tells her, he thanks her for that, because, it's nice to hear someone tell you that you're not a monster. Right. Yeah. And that, being a monster isn't just defined by teeth and claws. It's defined by your deeds that you do. And he kind of gives a little bit of a reason for why he thinks he deserves this. He says when he first became, like this, cursed, that he killed all of his staff because he was confused and didn't realize exactly what had happened to him. And in his like confusion and rage, he killed all the people that, were there with him. And it's like, oh, okay, maybe that's why, he feels bad because he did that and he thinks he deserves it.
Yeah, that's one of the things I did like about this episode, is that every time it seems like there's something he's hiding, it also seems like he then gives some sort of justification for like why he feels that way. And it seems like it kind of balances out. And so it makes you go, okay, all right.
I will say, like, I have, and we'll get to the real reason later. But, of course I have foreknowledge as far as this stuff goes. And it honestly fooled me for a little bit, to where I was wondering if they were going to touch it. Like, I was like, are they going to do the real reason, or are they just going to be like, nah, we're changing that.
Right.
And no, they do in fact get to the real reason, which we will get to after the break.
All right, let's go talk to our patrons and read some of our new reviews, and we'll be right back.
Very well. Let us get this over with. Something has infested my vineyard.
Great. Let me go prepare my something oil then.
All right, so here we are in the middle of the show. This is where we get to thank our patrons, and we've got two brand new patrons. We have Genesis, who signed up during last week's show in order to join us because she just wanted to be part of it. And then we also have Crow of Valen, who just signed up today. Welcome to the Patreon. Thank you for supporting the show. Crow of Valen is a tier 4 patron, a Leshen, who's going to be able to join us this month on the end of the month patron episode. So welcome aboard. Glad to have you here as part of our group of patrons, who is now grown to 10 patrons. So welcome to everybody. Thank you. Well, thank you to everybody. And man, you guys are the best. Thank you so much for helping to support the show. And if you have, been enjoying the show, if we've done anything to help you get through your work days, through your holiday, through your workouts, through your commutes to work, or through
your brutally terrifying interrogations of prisoners of war.
Through your interrogations. I don't know anybody who listens to podcasts while interrogating. I don't know anybody who interrogates people. But if that's something that we've helped you with, oh my God, then go to patreon.com/Witcher
I think if
Lorecast.
that's something we've helped you with, you're obligated.
Yes. Also, please don't share anything more about that. I hope you work for like the CIA or something. I don't know.
We don't want to know.
I don't think you can tell us anything more about that either.
Probably
not government secrets and all that. But yeah, please go check out the Patreon. There's a bunch of different tiers there. We can get ad-free episodes. You can join us on future episodes of the show, all sorts of other things in between. And also we have some new reviews from some of our new listeners. So I'm going to read these out real quick. We have one from Kim RN30 from the US who writes, Lorecast, 5 stars. I am new to The Witcher and haven't played the games yet, but I've just been reading the books and watching the show. I thoroughly enjoy Tom and Toasty and the banter. Thanks, guys, for giving me a deeper look into the world. Keep it up. Well, thanks, Kim.
It's always nice to hear when people like our banter.
Yeah, yeah, it is.
Glad they appreciate it.
But we are just thoroughly, hate each other. So
Tom
I'm glad somebody
and
enjoys it.
We seriously hate each other. Like you think we would have like an amicable relationship at this point? 28 episodes in?
Yeah, no.
But no.
No. Dartboard with his face
just tolerate
right
each
over
other.
there, just like every day. Darts in Toasty's face. That's all I do. Then we have J Reed 7 Reads in the United States who writes, wonderful podcast, 5 stars. I first found The Witcher Lorecast after watching season 1 of The Witcher. I was eager to dive more into the lore of The Witcher and wanted to hear what others thought of the show. Thanks to the podcast, I've been able to engage more with the Witcher universe and am now working my way through the books. I love listening to the podcast in the car and can't wait for all the episodes surrounding season 2. Thank you. Well, you're welcome. I hope you're enjoying this episode as we go through episode 1. So thank you, Jay Reed. And then we have one more from Duck Hunter CES. Wow. I mean, CES is happening right now. That's the tech show. Duck Hunter. Man, that's a callback. Did you play? You're so young. Did you ever play Duck Hunter on the original Nintendo with the little light gun? No,
I never had an original Nintendo.
Yeah, that's way old school. This says great lore channel for Witcher fans. 5 stars. My wife and I started rewatching The Witcher on Netflix ahead of season 2. Hey, my wife and I did the same thing. Imagine that. Toasty too. Look at that.
My wife did what?
My wife. And we also watched Witcher anime, and I previously had finished The Witcher 3 on PC. This person is just us. I found the podcast because I was looking for a little more background on certain things in the universe, and boy, do these guys deliver. Seriously, if you're looking for more lore associated with the Witcher universe, look no further. This is the podcast for you. Well, Duck Hunter, thank you so much. And you guys are the best. Thank you for taking the time to leave a rating and review on Apple Podcasts. If you give us 5 stars and leave a review, I will read it out on a future episode of the show. Also, Spotify now has the ability for you to leave a rating there as well. So scroll up to the top of your Spotify player where you can see the name of the show and the description. And down underneath that, there's a little place where you can click and give us 5 stars on that as well. So we would really appreciate you taking the time to do that. It helps make sure that people know that the show is worth listening to, and helps make sure that we get recommended for more people to check it out. So we really do appreciate it. And thank you again to all of our patrons. You guys are the absolute best.
You smell of death and destiny, heroics and heartbreak.
It's onion.
Right, yeah.
All right, Toasty. Man, that was fun. Those were some good reviews. Thank you to everybody. All right, let's get on with the rest of this episode. So back to Casa. What do we call it? Casa Novellin?
Yeah. So, we're back to it. Geralt's kind of keeping watch. He's not really, 100% about the place. He's starting to pick up on some interesting clues that he's finding. He finds like a set of footprints that lead a little bit away and then just disappear.
And he's like,
It's like, that's a little weird. And
somebody
also,
else here, and then just disappeared. That's something's going on. Yeah.
And they're obviously very like smaller footprints. Like nobody's going to be outside barefoot in the snow like that. Ain't nobody going to be like that. And they're definitely barefoot footprints. And if anyone's going to do it, it'd probably just be Nivellen. But you got to imagine that his feet are probably pretty massive at this point.
They're big old.
These are like
feet.
little dainty feet, little tiny feet. So,
my favorite thing about The Witcher stuff, I think, flat out favorite thing beyond just fighting monsters and crazy stuff, because I love monsters and all that stuff and the dark, scary, spooky things, is when Geralt plays detective. I love Detective Geralt. I love that stuff. I love that stuff in the games. I love just the like little hints of stuff that get written into the books or the games or any of this stuff, the show, where Geralt is just piecing things together and going, there's a thing, or that guy's lying, or, whatever. And then you get the moment of like, okay, all of these things pieced together. This is what the monster is. This is what's going on. And this is how I know it. It's just like a good detective series, but it's also wrapped around with all the other cool stuff that happens in The Witcher. So good.
Too bad we didn't get that little flash of yellow,
Yeah.
That would have been.
Yeah. The Witcher vision.
Yeah. So we come back inside, Geralt and Nivellen. Basically, Geralt challenges Nivellen to a drinking game where they throw knives, and whoever misses sticking a knife in Nivellen's father's face,
just like Toasty's face on my wall over there. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. Don't worry, guys. I gave him magic knives. He still hasn't hit me to this day. He's been trying. But
I'm gonna have to fix my wall.
Gonna have to. It's just crazy. But yeah, so the loser, whoever misses, has to drink and tell a truth. So they get to it. Geralt misses,
a lot.
Which, if you're looking, you're like, this is weird. Like, Geralt's pretty good at stuff like he probably should be able to hit these, right? So it's looking a little off. Like maybe he's doing it for a reason or something. Basically, Nivellen's just trying to find out a bit more information about like, why are you with this random little girl? Like, what's going on here? This is a little weird. It's definitely not something that seems like you before. Basically, you're going through this, and Geralt's telling him, what happened and how he got her through the law of surprise, and he's going to keep her safe. And so,
convenient recap for anybody who missed the first season, but also, good exposition for them to be bonding over what's actually going on in Geralt's life.
And we see Geralt picking up on some of the signs. The second knife he throws, he's holding his amulet. He's like, there's something weird's going on here. So he's trying to feel this for like some magical interference or something. And they get through all these knife throwing. Geralt misses 3 times, and Nivellen hits all 3. And Nivellen asks him, what happened to you? What changed you? Because you are not like you used to be. And Geralt tells him that it wasn't what, it was who. And then he got changed by Yennefer Vengerberg, and how basically he was in love with her and now she's dead, and that he's heartbroken, essentially. In typical Geralt fashion, of course, he tells us, but, we start to kind of get like, we saw his, how he felt after first hearing about it, but we're definitely getting more into the fact that like it's really hitting him and like really has upset him. So they bond over that. Verena shows up in Ciri's room, crawling out of the ceiling.
Yes, this is the creepy moment we described on the last episode, where she's all twitchy and they do all the really cool effects, and they have the conversation, and then the dress. This is where she gives her the dress.
She gave her the dress. She asked her if she liked the dress that she gave her earlier.
Yes. Yeah.
And they kind of talk. Verena's asking about, or like is sensing things. So she's got some sort of like something going on where she's able to sense that Ciri feels like alone and afraid. And Verina's like, I'm like that too. Like I've never met someone just as alone as me. And kind of seems like trying to bond a little bit, which is really odd because she's very like twitchy and creepy. And it's interesting. And she's asking about Geralt because she's like, why are you with him? I know what he is.
Yeah.
And he kills monsters. And Ciri's, like, are you a monster? And
like, you're Verina, pretty creepy. Yeah.
Yeah. And Verina doesn't exactly answer the question, but tells her, like, I'm different. I'm not like you. But in her mind, she like telepathically speaks to Ciri. And it's like, oh, okay, well, yeah, something's going on, as if we didn't already know that already. And then, like, basically, Ciri picks up on the fact that she's been hiding, and Novellin's been hiding her because he's in love with her.
Mm-hmm.
And we can kind of see by her reaction that it seems like she is probably in love with him too. Like the way her like facial expression is, and
right.
It's like, okay, this is really interesting. Like, what is she? We're asking ourselves that question probably at this point of like, what is she? She's obviously not human, but she doesn't seem like she's out to harm Ciri at all. Like she definitely had the opportunity to do that and she didn't.
Yeah.
So we start questioning this and then cut back to Geralt with Novellin, and basically Geralt calls him out on his bullshit as he pulls a knife from his boot and hits it dead center of this dude, like right between the eyes.
Yes.
On the
Boom.
Picture. And we're like, okay, yeah, he definitely can do that.
Right.
And he's like, okay, why are you cheating? And Novellin's like, yeah, you caught me. I got magic knives. And Geralt's trying to figure out what he's hiding. And Novellin's just dodging yet again. Yeah. He's like, oh, I really gotta, I love the expression, drain the snake and hit the silk.
Yeah. And he just leaves.
He's just out. And it's like,
nope, I'm done.
All right. So Geralt goes, he's like, all right, he's not giving me any answers. I'm going to figure out what's going on. He makes his way down to the town and sees all the dead people. And he's like, okay, all right, something's definitely going on here. Mm-hmm. And he finds those footprints again, and they do the same thing where they kind of lead off and then they just disappear. And then he kind of clicks for him. He's like, it flies.
Yeah.
That's why.
Yeah.
And he, he's waking up Ciri now, telling her that she needs to, get ready, get to Roach. There's a Bruxa in the house.
Right. He pieces it all together. He sees the kind of damage that it's done to the bodies, probably drained blood. It flies, small footprints, puts all the pieces together and goes, okay, I know what this is.
It's a Bruxa.
It's a Bruxa.
Yeah.
Right.
Basically tells Ciri that she needs to get to Roach. Like it's time for him to essentially hunt a Bruxa. And we get like one of the coolest transitions here with as far as like Ciri runs up and she's like, what's going on? And he turns around and he had just drank a potion and the potion's effects have now come into play. The eyes are black. He's got the veins going and he's like, move now. And it's like, that was cool. That moment was super cool. I mean, I don't think anybody can argue with that. That was sick. So, and so he's going around, walking around the mansion, Casa Novellin, as we've been calling it. I think he's like hearing stuff. It's hard to tell exactly what he's thinking in these situations, but based on like his body movements, I would guess that he's hearing things or maybe smells something off, because it seems like he knows where to go. Like he picks up on something and he starts making like a track for that area. And he breaks into Novellin's room where she's like drinking him dry, which is fine because he can't die. So it's not like that's like a concern as far as. And
Geralt doesn't know, but they've agreed to this. Like this is an agreement that they've made that he allows it.
Yeah. So Geralt busts in ready to, save Novellin. and she hits him with the sonic scream, blasts him into the wall. Once it's over, she's disappeared, but he's got like the scent or something that he can detect her now. Whatever it is, like sense that he's using to detect her, he can detect her. He picks up like a pole or a spear, jabs it into the wall, exactly into her. They're kind of having a fight here where she's got him pinned down. He blasts her through the window with Ard, and now they're out in the courtyard. And essentially this fight scene going on where Verena's trying to appeal to Ciri while fending off Geralt, which she's actually really good at, and it's very terrifying.
Yeah, she's pretty solid in this fight.
Especially because if I guess I didn't mention it, but so she looks like a normal person except for her eyes normally. But when she does the sonic scream thing, it reveals her like maw of like rows of teeth.
It's like a partial transformation into the Bruxa. It's like whenever she uses her monster abilities, it's like her she transforms part of her body more into the monster side of her. And until we get to the part of the fight where she just fully transforms. But every time she does more of these monster type things, it's like she bends from less human to more monster and then back again. It's really interesting.
She can do it fluidly. Like there's not much of a time in between her ability to do this. Like she can do that scream, the jaw, like the fangs are out, and then a second later they're gone. She just looks normal again. And so she can transition insanely quick, which is something that makes, higher forms of vampires like a Bruxa absolutely terrifying.
Oh yeah.
Because the only thing worse, I think, there's a lot of different vampires and stuff, but I think as far as like Geralt's opinion, the only thing worse than a Bruxa is a legit higher vampire, like Regis. So, but like, because in the books, whenever he figures out that she's a Bruxa, he's like, "Oh shit!"
Yeah, like this is
it's
not
a
good.
very oh shit moment for him. He's not ready for it. So they have the fight. We get to see a lot more sign usage from Geralt. He's using Quinn now. I would assume Quinn. We're going to call it Quinn.
It's the shield, right? The shield. It's either that or the other one, which is.
Essentially the same thing.
Right.
It's a shield of sorts, and he's fluidly switching between these signs too, which is cool. He gets into the fight where she eventually turns into like her full Bruxa form. She's flying around. She looks a lot like a bat, and she's going for these kind of like sneak attacks where she flies away and then tries to drop in for an ambush. Geralt's detecting these and eventually cuts her out of the sky. And she reverts back to her human form and tries to take Ciri hostage and tell him to leave, or she's going to rip her throat out. And it's like, okay, I got to play this carefully, until Nivellen actually comes to the rescue and impales Verena with a spear, which leads to probably the second most creepiest thing in this entire season, where she inverts her arms and head backwards to drag herself down the spear because she's a vampire. Spear doesn't matter. It's just a normal spear. And so she's dragging herself down the spear toward Nivellen, saying that if I can't have you, no one else will. I love you. Totally creepy. He's freaking out, and it seems like she's about to feed on him yet again, and Geralt goes in for the killing blow and cuts her head off. And it's pretty rough. Nivellen's like screaming, like he's heartbroken at this point. He was actually in love with her, and she's now dead. She gives like a warning to Ciri, but right before she bursts into like flames, of like saying that he'll come for you too, which is kind of a thing where you're questioning what is she talking about? Because I think everyone that's heard that part, I think I just hit my mic. I'm so sorry.
I've done that.
But everyone who hears that part, we're like, Geralt's not going to do anything to Ciri. Like we all know that Geralt's not going to do anything. So who's she talking about?
Yeah, or is it like the typical like villain thing where you're trying to sow doubt?
Yeah, she is trying to do that the whole fight.
Like
is
you
quite
are
possible.
you are strange like I am. I know. You know you are going to be a monster too, which is foreshadowing in some ways to the end of the season.
So she bursts into flames. The basically condition of love and blood is met, and Nivellen gets cured now. Like the curse is lifted through the death of Verena, and he is back to his normal human mortal self, where he reveals that he knew, of course, about her, and she didn't care about him being cursed. And he had an agreement with her to where he would let her feed on him because, of course, he couldn't die in that state. So it wasn't a problem for her to feed on him and drain him.
But it wasn't enough.
Right. She couldn't help herself. She still needed more. And so hunted down people and was killing innocent people, which, of course, that's a big no-no for Geralt. And he knew about this and he turned a blind eye to it because he was so desperate for that, I guess, that love and that attention that he couldn't get from anyone else, that he ignored it because she didn't care that he was cursed and not for trashing the temple, but for, and I'm going to give a content warning here for anyone.
Yeah. Trigger warning
right now. So if you need to click off the podcast now, please go ahead and do so.
A certain type of violence towards individuals, sexual
violence. Yeah. And he reveals that he raped the priestess. And that's why she cursed him. And we see, this is where like the whole mood changes. Right. Like it was like, this dude was a friend, Geralt thought fondly of him, definitely was questioning a little bit there, but he's still trying to be like sympathetic at the end there. Like he had to kill her. He seems like he kind of regrets it a little bit. And he's sad because his friend is, lost a loved one and he's trying to be comforting. And then he drops that bomb and Geralt and Ciri both are just like, what?
Yeah. Like, okay, wait, maybe you deserve this fate. All right.
Yeah. So Geralt just doesn't say anything.
Right.
And
basically
he just
walks
away. He can't at that point.
He's
and
just like, no.
And dude's begging Ciri to stay. And it's like, Ciri, of course, isn't going to stay.
She's like,
because
no,
hell no, definitely not. And so they're walking away and Nivellen begs Geralt to take his sword and end him. And Geralt tells him, you're mortal now. Do it yourself. Coldest line of the whole season.
Yeah. So yeah.
Oh my gosh. If they had ended the episode here,
right.
I mean, I'm fine with the way they ended it, but imagine if they had just ended it here at that line, cut to credits. That would have been insane.
Right.
So,
and then we get another scene, and this scene actually was proposed by Henry Cavill. Did you hear about this?
I don't think so.
Yeah. So this like post main part of the story scene where Geralt and Ciri get to talk, and they have a little fire, and they have kind of a denouement moment. Was suggested by Henry, and they added it into the episode.
So this scene, we get to see that kind of, I think it's a little bit of an Easter egg towards the game where he's coming out of he's like meditating, coming out of the mutagens, or not the mutagens, but like the potions, dropping off, like the effects go away. And they have a talk about, when he tells her to do something, she needs to do it. Like he's trying to be kind of her guardian here and it's not going to work if, she doesn't listen to him. And, Ciri kind of reveals just how scared she is and how she feels like something in her could just burn the world and she wouldn't care. Like,
which is
she
such
feels
a good
like,
line. It's so
yeah,
good.
And it's it's kind of, and she's scared by this. Like, she's scared that she feels this way because she feels like she shouldn't. But she's seen so much death and like destruction at this point, which is, understandable. We get to see all the stuff she goes through. It's understandable, kind of the trauma that you've been through. And she tells him, like, I don't know how to handle this fear. And he tells her, fear is an illness. And if you don't treat it, it will consume you. But if you face your fears, then it helps you to prevent them in the future, or at least grow to overcome them.
Right.
So it's a very important bonding scene between the two.
Right.
And even so, he tells her this, and he tells her, even then, you're not alone. I'm here for you. I'll protect you. So it's a really important bonding scene between the two because go ahead.
I sorry to jump in, but I agree. I think that this was a very poignant moment to put here, but it also sets the stage for the rest of the season and all the rest of the episodes, where we don't have to, in the back of our heads, wonder if Ciri is doubting Geralt in every scene from this moment on. Like, this sets up a moment where we go, okay, they've had a moment where they've set this up and they've clarified, like, they've had the father-daughter moment. They've had the moment of like, Ciri, you're not alone. I'm here with you, regardless of anything else that happens. So from this moment on, unless there's reason to doubt, Ciri knows that she can trust Geralt. Done. That has been established, So whatever dangerous situations happen from here on, we know that is set. And I think that was a really wise thing to do, to set that right here at the end of this episode, because otherwise you watch the rest of these episodes wondering, like, are we going to end up with her doubting him? Is the reason why she's not listening to him and doing something else because she doesn't trust him? And no, it's because she's a teenager and she just wants to do her own thing. Or no, because she just, she has her in her own head that she just wants to do what she wants, not because she wants to be told. But it's not because she doesn't trust him. That's not the reason. I think that's important. So
same. And then finally for the episode, we get back to Fringilla and Yin at their little camp, and these massive harpoons just get shot out of the woods and start straight murdering and yanking dudes
off the screen, which was a really cool effect. I thought this was really cool. It also brings them both down. And this is another theme of the entire season, is Fringilla and Yennefer in some ways being brought down and then having to build themselves back up again in different ways. And that's what we get here in kind of a like, what's going to happen? They get ambushed. What's going on? And they get ambushed and they're by them. Like, all of the men get like yanked out of there, and it's just them two left. And that's it. That's the end. We don't know exactly what happens yet. They're just there, surrounded by nothing. Some mysterious threat in the woods. Yep. And ending credits. Yep. So that's the episode. So, all right, Toasty. So, like I stated at the beginning, this is probably one of the least debated episodes of the season. For the most part, pretty solid. It's got some good combat in it. We talked about in the last episode. The acting, all the set pieces, all of that stuff's pretty good. The flow of the episode's pretty solid. What do you think?
Well, first off, I think that we gotta pick a new rating system.
Okay.
You know why?
Why?
Spoiler alert for anyone who hasn't watched the rest of the season. I don't feel like we can accurately rate it in Witcher medallions, because the medallion tree isn't exactly in the best position to be holding our medallions anymore.
Oh boy. Okay.
So I think we got to change our rating system to something else.
Okay.
Just because got anywhere to put our medallions.
All right. How about members of the Wild Hunt? That sounds terrible. Okay, how about
everyone's be like, what?
I give this 4 out of 5 Wild Hunt members. Oh God. All right. How about I just rolled over my toe with my chair.
Jeez,
that was a bad idea.
Don't do that. That sounds.
How about toes? I give this 9 out of my 10 toes. Oh, because one of them
sounds like
flat.
a bad rating, even if it's a good rating.
Oh yeah, that's not good. You want to keep all 10 of your toes. You got any ideas
here?
All
10 of the toes, please. Oh dear. You know what? Now you got me
signs. How many signs?
Brooksa teeth.
Brooksa teeth.
Brooksa teeth for this episode.
A 10-base system works better. Is what Rob the Princess says, because we end up using halves anyway.
So that was another suggestion I was going to make, right?
Okay, so we'll do out of 10.
I think every episode in season 2 is better than well, maybe not every, but most of the episodes in season 2 are better than all the episodes in season 1. So we gotta up the rankings to 10 because
all right, we'll do it out of 10.
5's not enough.
I don't know that they're all better. I mean, there's definitely some serious flaws in some of the storytelling. I think they're more exciting, but there's definitely some. We're gonna hash this out. I know for sure.
Maybe personally for me, the characters is where I sit most of the time, as far as like character development, character interactions are the most important thing to me. And I think this season kills it on that front.
Okay.
As far as that goes.
I'm just going to say one thing here. Vesemir. I feel like Vesemir got the short end of the stick.
I feel like,
but we're going to have to hold off.
I feel like we didn't learn much about Geralt in season 1. Therefore, we didn't learn much about Vesemir in season 2. Season 3 will be the real killer for him.
All right. Well, we're gonna have to hold off on this because we'll get in. Of course, we got plenty of time. It's gonna
be a while before we get to that one.
We got plenty of time to get more into this stuff. But yeah, I gave her going with some of it. Okay, we're gonna debate this stuff. I know, but okay. So we're 10 of somethings. Tell you what, you guys will write us. Let us know. Log on to the Robots Radio Discord. Tell us what we should be rating this out of 10. What's 10 monsters? 10 something? We don't know yet. But out of 10, what do you rate this episode?
Give it a 10.
Is it 10 out of 10? I give it a 9. I give it a 9 out of 10. I think that for the most part, it's pretty solid. I think that it kind of, there's a few little TV tropey things that happen in it, but for the most part, really solid. Pretty solid. Leshies? 10 Leshies? That's a lot of Leshies, Rob. I don't know if anybody wants to fight 10 Leshies. 10
out of 10 Leshies for me.
Oh my God. 10. All right. 9 out of 10.
Wait. What Leshy hands?
Leshy hands, because they show up in the season.
Yeah. Leshy hands.
All right, 10 out of 10 Leshy hands. Whew.
I give it 10 out of 10. That's terrifying, but
Leshy fingers.
Nah, Leshy hands.
All right.
Full hands.
All right, that's like
there's
five Leshies worth of hands
out there missing hands.
All right,
apparently.
Yeah. All right, cool. All right, I give it a 9. I have a 9. All right. Well, we'd love to hear what you guys think. Log into the Robots Radio Discord. The link is in the show notes. It's also on the robotsradio.net website, which has been revamped. So go check it out. Woohoo! Toasty, you got anything else to share before we go?
Same stuff as usual. Follow us at Witcher Lorecast. We've been getting a lot of follows recently on Witcher Lorecast on Twitter.
Yeah. Send us stuff there,
notifications.
And then we'll make Toasty post things more often. It'll be great.
Yeah, I'm working. I'm get there. eventually. New Year's resolution: get better at managing the Twitter. There you go. Toasty.
I have so many other Twitters that I have to log into that I've maxed out the number of Twitter accounts I can log into on my browser. So.
Wow, that's
it only gives you 5.
Impressive.
It only gives you 5.
Oh, okay.
But that's the problem, is that I can't actually log in without having to unlog out of all of them every time. So that's my problem. Is that it's a pain in the butt. Yeah.
And then I don't have the other thing to shout out that I normally do because of things that are happening, so I'm not going to say that one.
Okay, all right. Mysterious, but all right.
Yeah, very mysterious. I think you'll notice it's been posted on the Discord in that channel. So that's it. I think.
Cool. Yeah, I've got notifications have gone up on have been going up on the little automatic things that go up on the podcasts, but I'm streaming every night, whether it's for these shows, for the podcast, or playing games with the community. So come hang out with me on the Robots Radio YouTube page or on Twitch. I stream on both places simultaneously. I'm restreaming everywhere. So come hang out. Love to have you guys join us for the live show or for just hanging out and playing games. And that's pretty much it, guys. Thank you for being here. And we will be back next week. Sorry we missed Monday, but I'll get this episode up as soon as absolutely possible. We'll be back next Monday to talk about episode 2. And that's it for this show. So until next time, everyone, stay safe out there and don't trust a weird, creepy mansion and a beast man if you run into him in the middle of the woods, because he might be hiding a scary vampire lady. It could happen. All right. We'll see you guys later. Bye, everyone. Thanks for tuning in to the Witcher Lorecast. We'd love to hear about your experiences with the games and the books and the TV series and all your thoughts on everything. Please check out the Robots Radio Discord and follow us on Twitter at Witcher Lorecast.
You've been listening to a Robots Radio podcast. Smart shows for interesting people. Check out all the shows at robotsradio.net.